want to thank you guys for tuning in today to Shoes Off Talk. Um, our counterpart here, Marvell, being that this is a new day of the week for the show, he's trying to figure his schedule out, but we hope and pray that he's able to be in attendance on a regular. But if not, we will hold it down in his absence.
That's right.
We have my man.
What's going on? This is your boy Floyd. What's up?
Floyd. I had to have Better Days by Leandra play because I think not just with me, but what I've been seeing on social media, what I've been seeing in media, in the news, that it's been a very emotional roller coaster type of month for everyone. And I know I'm going through mine, but I also know that there's a lot of people that's going through it as well. So it was important that I played that song because it was uplifting for me, and I hope that it did the same for everyone listening. Today's show, we're gonna kind of stay in line with that. But what's the topic of today's show? First of all, let me give you guys a little preface on this. Is a lot of times we come in studio and we don't really have things set that we're going to talk about. Right. A lot of times we go off the cuff. And that is what's so lovely about Shoes Off Talk, is that we tell y'all that y'all don't know what y'all going to get, but a lot of times we don't know what we're going to get.
That's right. We don't know.
We really come in here, and a lot of times we speak from the heart. And so today is no different. But when I came in, I kind of had something on my mind that I wanted to talk about. And as we're sitting here getting prepared, Floyd asked me, he said, hey, as he usually does, he said, hey, what's the topic today? What are we going to talk about? And what was on my heart and mind to talk about was breaking points. What is your breaking points? What are the things that get you emotionally tied up? And what are the things that's difficult for you to get past, and how to get past it? And Floyd had already had a topic. Floyd, what was the topic that you had picked?
My topic was the power of change.
If that wasn't being on one accord, I don't know what is. So, in a different format, we're going to let Floyd start the show off with the topic that actually kind of meshes with what I wanted to talk about as well. But I'm going to give Floyd the floor first and let him do his thing.
Oh man!
Yeah,
thank you.
This is different.
Oh man, I feel honored. Thank you. All right.
Oh, we are matching. This wasn't intentional. We both was feeling the spirit of.
I didn't call him and talk about what you learned today. We ain't doing that.
No.
But yeah. So the reason why I had came up with that topic was the power of change. Like Tim was saying, things are going on this month, and it's like, wow, people are going through some stuff. But I was thinking more of how life treats us in accordance to not just family, friends, relationships. It goes on and on and on. But there's a lot of things that we are going through, and we're not even communicating that with anybody. So when
going through it in silence.
Right, and that right there is one deadly force, not just with physically but mentally. So when we say power of change, what are we actually changing? Are we changing just to get better for that moment, or are we changing to get better for the rest of our life? Because it's one of those things that if we're gonna change, I would always say change for the better.
Be all in.
You know,
Be all in, and You allude to a very important point, and that's something that we are seeing a lot of lately, and that's people dealing with mental health. And that is the root of a lot of it, is not having those outlets, not having those people to talk to. And so what I say to our listening audience is pay attention to your friends. Pay attention to those people that are not really crying out, but they're crying out, through their actions, through their words, and through how they move, because there's a need there.
Right.
And it's not a physical need. It's a lot of times it's an emotional need. Sometimes it's as easy as picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, I just wanted to call and check on you. You good?"
But we don't do that no more.
Yeah, the advent of social media just it makes people feel like you're in tune with other people by just going on their social media, but the social media is not indicative of how a person's life is actually going.
That's right.
A lot of times people hide behind their social media. And I try not to do that. I try to be as authentic as I possibly can through my real life and my social media. And if there's ever a discernment that needs to happen, I try to make that clear and abundant with the people that I come in contact with on a daily basis. My social media is me. I'm not one of those people that I live this life through my social media. My social media is me.
He
really
doesn't
is.
fake the funk.
No. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm authentically me 24/7, 365.
Right.
I don't know how to be anybody else. I don't. And so it's important what you said is that we have to get back to being a village. That village, we've hit on this a few times on the show, is that village looks out for each other.
Right.
When you speak of neighborhoods, back in the day when we were growing up, you couldn't do nothing in your neighborhood because even if your parents didn't see it, your neighbor saw it.
Oh yeah.
And if your neighbor saw it, it was just as bad as your parents seeing it.
Yep. Exactly.
But that was love. That was us looking out for each other. That was us making sure that nobody from the outside came in doing stuff in our neighborhoods that shouldn't be done. And there's definitely a lack of it because we have so many things going on in neighborhoods that are tragic, that if we got back to those days of looking out for each other, we wouldn't have that. We wouldn't have a man running through the neighborhood and getting shot and killed. We wouldn't have that. We wouldn't have a kid wearing a hoodie and just because people didn't know who he was getting killed. Like we wouldn't have those things.
Right.
Because we protected each other. We protected each other. That was the definition of a village. That was the definition of the village. And we definitely need to get back to it. Yeah, man, it was very important, and also for mental health. A lot of us are fighting that disease of bad mental health, and a lot of times you don't know it.
Look at it though. Is it more so of because we talk about mental health, we talk about the struggles that goes through our minds, but then it's I look at that and I'm like, well, is it really mental health? Is it really mental that when we struggle through our minds, when we're going through stuff? I just say that to me, I just feel like it's more of might be a depression kind of thing. It might be just something that it's not something that doesn't you don't feel right at that moment.
I think the common denominator for that is when we talk about mental health, when we talk about depression, when we talk about PTSD and those different things. I battle PTSD. I used to struggle with it. Like it was a struggle of mine. It wouldn't take anything to kind of set me off, and then I was always not set me off like I became dangerous, but it would set me off on the inside, and my thoughts were not what they were supposed to be.
Right.
And through the years, the one thing that changed that for me is I created outlets for myself. I created outlets, and that comes in the forms of hobbies. That comes in the form of designating people that you talk to. Sometimes those aren't your closest friends. Sometimes that ain't family.
Right.
That sometimes it's just that caring person that cares about you as much as you care about yourself. And that's why I always say friendship and family is not blood or years. It's the ability to take yourself outside of yourself and understand that situations involving other people ain't about you.
Right.
It's not about you. It's about the ability of using the gifts that you have to better other people and be that sounding board. You know, sometimes when you're going through depression and those different things, it's not having someone to talk back and forth with.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's not it. Sometimes it's just as simple as having someone to listen.
Right. Because isn't that more so of a because in your mind, when your mind is going 1,000 miles per hour and everything, and then it transforms into breaking points.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when it comes to breaking points, I mean, how do we get past that though? How do we get past the whole idea that, okay, I'm going through this in my mind, so how do I get past all that?
Breaking points are simply you not familiarizing yourself with who you are. I always know who I am. Nobody can ever tell me who I am. I know who I am. You can't put me in situations where you make me doubt who I am, because I've been through too much. I've been through the fires. I've been through everything that you could possibly, as a human, go through. So you can't tell me who I am. I know who I am. And I am who I am because of what I've been through. And do I constantly have to remind myself of who I am? Yes, I have to remind myself. Nobody can tell me who I am. Because if you depend on other people to tell you who you are, they're going to tell you that you're not who you think you are. And I think it's important that you get in tune with you. That is the most important thing. Is we are going to have those times of doubt. We're going to have those times of questions. We're going to go through it. We're human. Mm-hmm. That's why I say a lot of times I get on social media and say, check on your strong friends. Because a lot of times your strong friends are the sounding board for everybody. But who's there for them?
That's right. That's what I was about to say. Who's going to be there for them?
But who's there for them?
That's right.
Because they have innately been that person for everybody. Mm-hmm. And people don't realize, it's like, you know, I heard T.D. Jakes, it was Fortune, James Fortune, his song.
Okay.
He said, as a pastor, his job is to pray for everyone else. Mm-hmm. And watch over his flock, his church. But he said there was points in his life while he was praying for someone else, he needed someone to pray for him. And so he had to put those prayers up himself, but he couldn't let people know that he was standing in the need. But sometimes we as humans, man, we got to come outside of ourselves and understand that there's other people going through it.
Oh yeah.
Even the people that you have depended on the most, they go through it. But most of the times they go through it in silence.
But then at the same time, when they're going through that, and like you said, they're going through it in silence, but that silence is deadly.
It is. It is. It's super deadly. And I'll use me as an example. A couple years ago, I consider myself the picture of health. And I'm not saying I'm ready to walk on somebody's stage and pose and all, but I consider myself the picture of health. And I went in because I wasn't feeling right. You know, something just, and that's another thing, is we need to pay attention to our bodies. Our bodies are unique vessels, and they let us know when things are wrong. Mm-hmm. And we have to pay attention to the warning signs. And I went into the doctor, I wasn't feeling right. I wasn't feeling right. And I had a checkup. They did the EEG, EKG, and a couple of different things. And my test came back, and I had left, and they called me, and they had me come back in. And I was like, and I'm like, why am I? And they don't like to say that stuff over the phone.
Right.
And so I'm nervous because I done had 15 surgeries. I done had over 30 broken bones, multiple facial fractures, a gunshot wound. Like, I've had it all. But the silence of not knowing tore me up. Mm-hmm. And so when I got in, they had all of my diagrams and all of this stuff, and I was like, hey, what's going on? And they was like, Tim, it's not a concern right now, and whenever your doctor starts it off with those words, not right now, it brings about that worry.
Oh, yeah.
And so they sat me down and they was just telling me, say, hey, we noticed something with one of your heart valves. And I was like, what? My heart valve? Mind you, I'm in the VA hospital getting checkups at least 2 or 3 times a year. Never ever had any problems with my heart. And they showed me a picture and they said, hey, you have a pin hole in one of your heart valves. I was like, what? And they said that are you stressing about stuff? What's going on? He's like, and these are my regular doctors, so they know that it's unusual. They was concerned.
Right.
And so I was like, I was going through it, but you don't think that your daily life translates into something like that until it happens.
That's right.
And so I said, I'm going through my share of stress, probably no more than what everybody else is going through. Mm-hmm. And they automatically said, it's like, what are your outlets? What are you doing? Whatever you're doing, you're not doing enough of, because it's doing something to you.
Yeah.
And at the end of the doctor's visit, he said, right now it's not a concern. But what we want to do is every year we want to come in and have you do tests. Because if it gets any bigger, you're going to have surgery. You're going to have to fix that.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I've had multiple surgeries, bro, and I could do them in my sleep. But when someone tells you that your heart valve, that anything that has to do with your heart, it was disturbing for me.
But that's deep, though.
It was really disturbing, bro, and it put life in perspective for me. And from that day forward, I didn't allow people, places, or things to get to the point to where it disturbed my health.
What is the other side of that? You have a heart that has a hole in it.
We can think of it from like a symbolism standpoint, not literally having a hole in your heart, but we have people walking around daily with holes in their hearts. And we have to find out what it is that we need to do to plug that hole in our hearts, because that hole, both from a physical standpoint and from a symbolism standpoint, it's a problem. It is a problem, and it leads to other things. And so I just say, look, man, take care of yourself. Make yourself a priority. Your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, all of it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
We live in this era of Me Too and love yourself and this and that. When love yourself becomes you lying to yourself about your mental, physical, and spiritual health, that's not loving yourself.
That's right.
That isn't. And I hate that we're doing that now through social media. We're telling people to be satisfied with who you are. And yes, to an extent that is true. But if you know your mental, physical, and spiritual health is not where it needs to be, love yourself enough to take care of it.
That's right.
We need to be sending the right messages to people, because we're sending messages of complacency and comfort. And I told somebody earlier in the week, I don't know how to operate from a place of comfort. That has never been me. If I'm comfortable, I'm uncomfortable. I am uncomfortable, I'm comfortable. And I know that probably went over some people's head, but I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Right. You should be. You should be that way. Everyone should be that way.
Everybody, but we live in a society where we coddle people. We tell people what they want to hear. We tiptoe around subjects that mean something to everyone, and we don't want to tell people the truth because we're scared of how people gonna take it and how people view us. We have to stop caring about how people view us. Our historically black leaders, they knew they had two choices. They knew that their messages were going to be either there was going to be two outcomes, jail or death.
Yeah, right.
And they knew that. They knew what those were the possible, pretty much back then, the only two outcomes. But they stood fast and they stuck to what they believed in. And we don't have that anymore. We don't have those leaders that are willing to risk it all for the greater good of someone else. I tell people all the time, you have leaders and you have rulers. Rulers lead with the knowing that there's something to gain.
Right, okay.
Leaders lead when it has nothing to do with them and there's nothing to gain from it. We have to pick. You cannot be both. And we need leaders. So we gotta get out there, man, and I think that's the reason why it's so important we talked about voting last week. And I think that's why it's so important that we get in our communities and we start appointing leaders. The president is not who is going to affect the direct change that we need in our community. Your local leaders are who you need to be getting out voting for. Those are the ones that's going to directly affect the change that we need in our communities.
And that requires us to actually do our research, do our homework,
Definitely.
on these people, and actually choosing. Now, granted, you're not going to choose the best one. There's no best one. So what you're going to do, you're going to choose the one that's going to be something that you're going to be comfortable with.
Yeah.
Okay.
I say that all the time when it comes to that. It's like we all have this idea of what a great leader is, and the expectations that we put on other people sometimes aren't fair expectations. And when I do my motivational speaking, I say, don't ever put your expectations of yourself on someone else, because that's unfair. You can't look at a person and judge them based on what you would have done. That's not fair. That's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you. And we judge people based on that. And so when it comes to voting, when we're voting for our leaders, we can't put that expectation on them because there's other people involved when it comes to leaderships in the political roles. Yeah, they probably make a big part of the decision, but like you said, you have to understand what's most important to you, because you're not going to get everything.
Right.
You gotta appoint the leader that is going to give you the things that mean most to you. And so what that means as you being the person that's been tasked with the ability to choose, is you have to understand with you what's most important to you. And that comes from, like you said, doing your due diligence and understanding what it is, not only you, but what your community needs. So yeah, that's definitely important.
Man, this was good.
Today was man, look, you could tell we had a lot on our chest, and that's what I love about doing this, man. I love doing this because it is therapy for me. It is therapy for you.
Yes,
it is
yes,
therapy for Larvell.
Yes.
And I don't care how many people we have tuning in or how many followers. If we can just reach one person,
just all it takes is just that one.
All we need is to reach one person.
That's right.
And if it travels to the masses, great.
Awesome.
But the goal of this show is to teach one, touch one.
Reach one.
And if we can do that, it'll go where it needs to go.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
It'll go where it needs to go. And look, I'm excited about what's to come with the show, the stuff we have coming up. Those of you that are tuning in, if you have any topics or any subjects that you're interested in us talking about, even if it's a repeat topic or repeat subject, or if you're a business and you're looking to promote your small business, hit us up, message us, call us, text us, and let us know how we can help. We created this platform so we can help our community. As small as this is, we have to take baby steps, and whatever God puts His hands on, it's going to be well done. And so we ask for everyone's continued prayers. I posted something today and said, hey, when you solicit prayers from other people, you got to know that there's someone out there praying for your downfall.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
But if someone is lifting you up, whether negative or positive, understand this: God hears both, and He's going to do in accordance to what is supposed to be done. So your job is not to dispel rumors and go back and forth with your haters. Your job is to continue to be authentically you. And if people accept you, they accept you. If they don't, they don't. We hear it all the time. I know within me, I'm not for everybody. I'm not for everybody. And I know that. And so that's why I can't live my life according to what people think or how people think I should live my life. I live my life according to how I want to live my life. And if it's pleasing to someone, then that's cool. But I don't live my life for them.
Right. Well,
why I feel like this show already been an hour and it's only been 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's what it is. 30 minutes. It's already over.
Yeah.
Man. But hey,
we appreciate everybody tuning in today. I'm loving this Thursday show. You know, I know we don't, like I said, the job is not to reach the masses, is to, if we can just reach one. And we want to create more shows because we want to be available for people to tune in, to comment. And I, like I say all the time, is we want the comments, both negative and positive, because that's the only way we're going to be able to improve what we're doing on the show. And like I said, give us some suggestions. And as we end every show, love, peace, and soul. Train.